Oh, what was I thinking? That's it. These pictures are going to end my YouTube career before it's even begun. I did a lot of personal growth in my 20s, and it fundamentally changed my life. From how I turn up in my relationships to the decisions that I make day to day to help me be healthy, happy, and focused. I'm now a 32-year-old married father in a stable job with lots of hobbies that I enjoy. And I'm now living in a much more intentional way. It hasn't always been that way though. In this video, I'm going to cover 4 of the most valuable life lessons that I learned in my 20s that fundamentally changed how I've turned up in my 30s. Stop worrying about what people think of you. Everyone is insecure. A lot of people believe that everyone seems to remember every little thing that you do. But the reality is, everyone really is just more concerned about themselves than the actions that you took. And anyone that constantly reminds you of your own faults and things that you've done in the past, you should probably consider cutting them out of your life. They're probably an arsehole. I found in my 20s that owning these hobbies, owning these aspects of your personality, is actually what makes you interesting. And you meet some really super cool people through those hobbies that you never would have met if you hadn't put yourself out there. If you're really into a particular hobby, just do yourself a favour and don't become that snobby person. If someone becomes interested, just invite them in. Let them share in your passion. That's what the world's built on. A final note on this. I spent an awful lot of time in my 20s reflecting on things that I'd done in the past as a teenager and things that I'd said to people, and there's just no time for that. And honestly, it's the kind of thing that holds you back because you end up becoming paralysed by fear that everyone is constantly judging you on the actions that you've taken in the past. And it's just not true. The reality is, if you've done something stupid when you're drunk, you're not the only one. Literally everyone that's ever had an alcoholic beverage has done something stupid when they're drunk. So don't worry about it. Own your past mistakes, learn to laugh at yourself, move on. If it makes you feel any better, let's take a look at 2010's Rhys and see what sort of fashion decisions I made in my 20s. Oh, that's not a good look. That's not a good look. That's not a good look. Ouch. Oof. Oh, what was I thinking? That's it. These pictures are going to end my YouTube career before it's even begun. Point number 2, cut the drama out. Oh man, if I could tell my teenage self this one. There'll come a time in your life where you realise that there are certain aspects of your friendship group that naturally seem to always attract drama in their lives. Drama sort of revolves around them and doesn't really go away. And as you go into your 20s, it doesn't really change. The drama kind of hangs around and the people revolve their entire social lives around the drama. As harsh as it is, you kind of need to start moving away from that social group in your 20s because it will 110% hold you back and make you completely miserable the longer you hang on to it. I'm not saying you need to cut them out of your life completely, but it's important to move away from the drama and start trying to meet people who are really interesting and supportive and passionate about things in their life. Because these are the kind of people that will fulfill you in life and push you on to want to achieve more and want to do more and actually make something of your life. Lean into these people more. If you're struggling to find these kind of people, find something that's kind of aligned with your hobbies perhaps. So if you're really into photography, maybe join a photography group. If you're into whatever you're into, even if it's like a fitness thing, right? The CrossFit communities are incredible people, which are incredibly kind of motivated and really into their fitness and things like that. These are ideal people that you want in your life, that you want to start including in your friendship circle. The last thing I learned on this point in my 20s was to completely cull my social media feed. As I was scrolling through my mid-20s, I realised that there was just so much political content on my feed, and it drags you down constantly. If you allow your feed to be completely controlled by the news cycle and the narrative from the political right or left, it just really kind of makes you angry and makes you miserable in the long term. It's not worth it. Cut it out. Start following people who you find inspiring and people that are passionate about life and kind and empathetic, just good people. And you'll find that it's just a better experience overall. Point number 3, focus on your mental and physical health. I am such a champion for mental health and well-being. I think it's something you kind of naturally encounter early on in your teenage years, but also in your 20s as well when you start working full-time. Particularly with how centered we are on social media and things like that, it's really easy to start feeling a little kind of anxious and depressed as you sort of let that become your life. I saw a really interesting video recently by the S-Theory guys, which they made in 2019 when they had the opportunity to meet the Dalai Lama. And he actually put this question to him and asked him, what do you think is the solution with so many people in their teenage years and their 20s that are feeling depressed and anxious? And he had this to say: there's too much self-centered attitude. Me. Then anxiety, suspicion. The antidote to a self-centered attitude? Altruism. That hit me so hard, but it's spot on. The times that I felt least anxious in my life is in service to other people and also spending time with other people. The times I felt the most depressed and anxious is when I've let the sort of social media space, the digital world, really take over my life a little bit. With that in mind, step away from the digital space to meditate, read, volunteer, and meet people in the real world. The same could be said for your physical health. Now, we know through science and through the research that there is a fundamental connection between your physical and your mental health. Not only for the health benefits, but also to boost your self-confidence. I'm not saying that you need to hit the gym and become a complete beast, but it's important to start exercising regularly because it allows your body to do what it was designed to do, to move. A great way to start this is even just by walking more. Getting up off the chair and heading outside for a 30-minute walk. After that, maybe look into preparing your meals at home. It doesn't need to be gourmet, but there's something pretty satisfying about making your own food. Plus, it's just another skill that's going to make you more interesting. The final thing that I learned in my 20s is to keep learning. I can't tell you how many jobs I went for in my 20s where I needed to relearn fundamental skills that I'd completely forgotten through my teenage years. Even something as simple as secondary school, or for my American audience, high school, mental mathematics. It's a skill that you don't really remember that well unless you're practicing it regularly. And there were a few jobs where I didn't have access to a phone or a calculator or anything like that. It all had to be mental maths. And I was being assessed on my ability to think quickly. I found that by staying hungry and always wanting to learn more, it just sort of encouraged my mind to keep thinking critically and encouraged me to stay curious about everything. I never wanted to be like a high achieving intellectual, but it's just kind of one of those things where I spend a bit of time on it every single day and it allows me to stay curious, keep my mind nice and sharp, and build these new sort of tools within my toolbox to use whenever I needed to, particularly when it came to learning new skills if necessary. On that same note, once this whole COVID situation is over, try travelling a little bit more as well. I found it so valuable in my 20s to visit new countries that I'd never really taken that much of an interest in, but had learned so much from in terms of people's lives and their stories and experiences, from different cultures to different religions. It had a huge impact. Just opening yourself up to these kind of opportunities really helps you develop in your 20s and fundamentally changes how you will sort of tackle the rest of your life and puts a real sort of perspective on things when you see, maybe how other people live compared to you. So these are just 4 things that I learned in my 20s that fundamentally changed my life. Of course, it's not everything that I learned in my 20s, but I felt that these 4 points in particular were really valuable to me. And it's something that I've taken through to me in my 30s, and it's stuff that I recommend all the time to, my younger cousins and my younger sister and things like that as well. So, just to recap. 1, stop worrying about what other people think of you. 2, cut the drama out. 3, focus on your mental and physical well-being. And 4, keep that learning going. I think that if you can apply even just one of these things to your life in your 20s, it'll fundamentally change who you are as a person and will really change how you approach life in your 30s as well. I'm sure that in 10 years time I'm going to look back at some of the stuff that I did in my 30s and cringe as I did in my 20s, but you know, I anticipate that I will have grown by then as well, and if I haven't changed at all through my 30s into my 40s, that's kind of a problem. Well, that's everything from me. If you enjoyed this video, why not give it a like? It helps me reach new people and it shows that you enjoy the videos that I make. If you have any lessons that you learned in your 20s, how about you drop them below in the comments section? I'd love to engage with you and talk about what you may have learned in your 20s as well. Well, if you want to see more from me, I upload new videos every Monday at 9 AM GMT. So hit that subscribe button and hit the bell to make sure you get notified when a new video is released. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, ta-ra.